the Intel Hub radio show on oraclebroadcasting.com. We're joined with James Evan Pilato this hour. Next hour, we'll be joined with James Fetzer. And we got a lot to cover here still. We haven't really jumped into Libya at all very much, and we've been constantly covering Libya. But I don't know if you guys heard, but in Cote d'Ivoire, I messed that up more than likely because I was not reading, but they bombed, the UN forces or whoever had started bombing that country with another civil war type conflict going on there.
In the
So they're
Ivory
just
Coast.
going all over the place, starting wars. We're going to see probably wars in Syria and Yemen and all these places.
And is this essentially the grand chessboard? Is this their life's work, much like the, controlled financial demolition had folks like Buffett and Soros saying, oh, God, this is the culmination of my life's work. I'm having a great crisis. Are we now seeing even more of the geopolitical kind of
what it reminds
situation?
me of, James? It reminds me of the 1984 novel where they had this never-ending war in the East.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what this is. It's just this never-ending war in the
It's
East.
going to be like a 100-year war.
I mean, it's been going on for that long.
But you know what? I mean, there's been tribal warfare over there.
At least that
stuff
long,
going
I should
on
say.
for hundreds of years, if not thousands.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in that area. But what do you think? What do you make of all this coverage? One thing I noticed back when the Gulf Wars were going on, they had footage of Saddam Hussein, and you would notice different things. We were talking about this with Joyce Riley of the Power Hour the other day. But Saddam would have like a mole like on a different part of his face, almost like they're using different dummies or they're there's lookalikes or who knows if there's false footage that the media is portraying. But some of this footage with these rebels looks suspect. But did you hear the story about this tanker that has $110 million worth of oil on it that the rebels supposedly have out by the port? And I was just sitting there thinking to myself, how do the rebels, get something like this with $110 million worth of fuel? And is this the setup for a false flag? It just seems suspicious.
I haven't, but actually, just as you were talking, I typed it up. Libyan rebels export oil through tanker. Associated Press, Dateline London. Libyan rebels are exporting oil again for the first time in almost 3 weeks through a tanker that arrived Tuesday at an eastern port, potentially giving them crucial funding for their fight against Gaddafi's forces.
Yeah, they're claiming $110 million, and it just makes you wonder, who's buying this oil? Where, how are they transporting it? Is that even a real and legitimate operation? Who's funneling the money into this thing? I mean, it just seems really strange to me.
I don't doubt for a moment any kind of situation where you may have, doubles and actors and fakes in any kind of situation. Again, like I was saying, I always kind of have fresh in my mind a pop culture or sort of media meme related connection. There, of course, folks probably remember the movie Wag the Dog in the Clinton era about basically launching a fake war to distract against presidential scandals. There's a more recent film which was not as well received called War Inc., as in War Incorporated, with John Cusack as basically the head of a private military contractor. And of course, it was made up names, but it was essentially a Halliburton-style corporation, and they set up a fake trade show in a Middle Eastern country, and of course, the tanks have advertisements bought on the back of them, and just pretty well done black humor, dark satire. But it was all set up as a stage to pull off another operation. They were there to basically pull off some kind of assassination hit, I believe. But I don't doubt for any moment, and for so many reasons. The news, the thing that's supposed to tell us the truth, lies to us, but the movies and television shows somehow have more nuggets of wisdom and real life in them.
Yeah. There's this new movie out called the Battle of Los Angeles
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. And it came out on the very day that the tsunami hit. And in this movie, if you watch the trailer, it's showing these big asteroids coming down out of the sky and all this chaos and stuff going on all over the world. And there's this massive tsunami, this wall of water with houses on top of the water on fire. And
Wow.
it has some weird subliminal imagery in it. And one of the dates was the 19th of April in the like subliminal imagery. If you pause the frames and whatnot, you guys listening can probably YouTube it. The Battle of Los
So what is that?
Angeles.
What does the 19th of April stand for, Shep?
I don't know, but I mean, this thing had so much imagery in it, and it was so weird how the day it was released was literally the day of the
Mm-hmm.
tsunami, and just how this whole thing came together. Go to Monograph's channel on YouTube, Monograph over there, and he did a whole video on it. It's really fascinating.
And as much as I was just saying, I do, pay attention to the media connections. I don't spend a lot of time or even maybe necessarily put a lot of stock in these sort of forewarnings of looking into films and television for signs. You could just go down an endless rabbit hole doing that. I think the more important thing, and that is something that, that folks like Freeman always talk about, it's like, no, they weren't necessarily predicting and saying 9/11, September 11th, 2000.
Mm-hmm.
These are just, it's in their numerology and it's in their
Right.
symbolism. So these numbers are going to pop up all over the place. And only in hindsight, with 2020 hindsight, can you look back and go, look at all these 9/11 references. Look at all of these 3/11 references.
Hmm. Well, Freeman claims he predicted the birther movement as well.
Mm.
There's these claims of predictions from
Mm-hmm.
different researchers and hosts. I don't get involved with the whole predictions thing. I don't think it's
No, I was going to reference when we were discussing the debt limit, then the warning that if we don't raise the debt limit by May 16th, we're going to have shutdown. I was going to make the reference that, well, that's 5 days before they supposedly say the rapture is going to take place. I don't know if you've caught, that movement of
is that the December
fundamentalists.
25th movement or something like that?
No, well, this is the May 21st.
May 21st,
Yeah.
that's what it is. The
So
May 21sters. Yeah, that's something new. I had only came across it when I saw a guy on my local street corner with the sign.
And I'm not trying to, because surely there are, Christian listeners out there, just as there are probably Muslim, atheist, Jew, Hindu, all stripes. I think even, the most ardent Christian would say, we don't know. You're not going to know when Christ's return is supposed to be. It says that, I believe, in the Bible. No one will know. So all of these, calls for predictions and things, it's just going to be another failure. It is interesting to look at the biblical angle, because as I'll kind of always say on the show, you may not believe in any of this stuff, but there are certainly millions and millions and millions of people who do, and they all seem to be in one way or another kind of actively working in concert to make these things happen. Even as a little kid, I was raised in a Southern Baptist church, so I was raised with the fire and brimstone in the book of Revelation. But even as a young kid, I kind of thought, well, if this is all meant to be and it's all written down and you all look at this as, set in stone gospel, literal, well, then you guys are just going to make it happen. We're going to work towards those goals. I do subscribe and take cast a wide net in the news world, and that's, I think, what helps me kind of put together an interesting weekly 2-hour show. But to pull things from, all sides of, fake and real political spectrums. But here's one from the Flash Traffic blog. Dangerous momentum building for unilateral declaration of a Palestinian state in September. Bible warns nations not to divide the land of Israel.
Yeah, and coming from the Jewish background that I come from, James, I think we should have a no-fly zone rather than it being over Libya. I think we should put it over Palestine, and we should stop the Israeli occupation and the Israeli crimes. We'll talk a little bit about that actually with James Fetzer next hour. James, we're coming up, James Evan Pilato, that is. We're coming up to a break here, and then we'll come up and wrap things up in the final segment. And folks, please check out his website, MediaMonarchy.com. He'll be a regular contributor to the Intel Hub radio show every Wednesday or something like that.
I think
first Wednesday
of every month, yeah.
First Wednesday of every month.
If you'll
All right,
have me.
sounds good. All right, folks, here we go. Break time, and when we get back, more.